Thank you. Thank you all.
Senator Thune.
Madam Chair, thank you, and thanks to all of you for agreeing to testify today as the country continues to grapple with supply chain challenges. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss the recovery that U.S. airlines have had from the major disruptions of travel last year when the pandemic emerged, and I think a lot of it was due to the success of the payroll support program, which has kept airlines running and their employees working, even when travel numbers plummeted. As Thanksgiving travel numbers indicate, the industry is starting to see a pretty strong recovery in domestic air travel, and I'm hoping that we'll see that similar recovery in the international air travel next year as vaccination campaigns continue and the world becomes more accustomed to handling these new coronavirus variants. As the strong recovery progresses, I want to continue to emphasize the importance of considering rural communities, which have felt a disproportionate impact from pandemic-related service reductions as longer-term service decisions are made. Mr. Kirby, could you describe how United is working with code-share partners to maximize service in smaller markets? And then I'll ask this of Mr. Parker when he concludes his answer, if you could provide some examples of innovative approaches your airline's taken to form partnerships with other carriers or communities to ensure stability in service.
Well, thank you, Senator Thune, and it follows on, to the past question. There has been a looming pilot shortage for the last decade in the United States, and going through COVID, it became an actual pilot shortage. So all of us, particularly our regional partners, simply don't have enough airplanes to fly. We have almost 100 airplanes effectively grounded right now, regional aircraft, because there's not enough pilots to fly them, which means we just can't at the moment fly to all the small communities that we would like to. It's really about not having enough pilots. I'm a little less optimistic that that situation is going to reverse itself in the near term unless we do something to increase the supply of pilots. At United, we've bought and have our first an academy called Aviation Academy. We had our first class start on Monday of this week with 30 people, 79% of them diverse, also another opportunity. These are 30 people that have no flight experience that are going to get the opportunity to become pilots, and if they pass all the certification and all the tests, can become commercial airline pilots at the end of the program. We're going to need a lot more programs like that. The country's going to need thousands of pilots.
And is that a function primarily of just more aggressive recruiting?
No, it's really a function of creative. The problem to become a pilot, particularly at the 1,500-hour rule, is you need to spend $150,000, and that's typically not eligible for government loans like other. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, you can get loans and go to school. If you want to be a commercial airline pilot, you can't do that, even though your career earnings are higher and we need those people. So creating ways that they can finance and fund their ability to get the requisite training is really the foundation. And I think it's the only way we're going to solve this problem for small communities, because I expect it's going to get worse before it gets better. We have to have a higher supply of pilots, and we just don't have enough today.
All right. Well, I know we'd all be interested in things that we could do to help and provide incentives to fill that pipeline or refill that pipeline. Mr. Kelly, or Mr. Parker, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, well, look, service to small communities is incredibly important to American Airlines. We serve some 230 cities in the United States. Obviously, a number of those are smaller communities, and places like Sioux City and Sioux Falls and Rapid City are important to that. And we would like to serve more, frankly, over time. But again, at this point in time, I agree with where Scott is. We at American have not yet. Well, we serve the same number of cities we did prior to the pandemic. We've lost some service to 3 cities, but we've added 3 others. But it is an issue. It is going to be an issue for our ability to serve if we can't recruit enough pilots into the regional airlines. But again, I believe we can get that solved. But that is certainly an issue that we're concerned about going forward. It hasn't affected American yet. As to ways to make it even better, as you asked, alliances that we've established at American with airlines like Alaska and JetBlue make it more likely for us to be able to serve smaller markets, because we can just connect people to more places. So this is all of our business is about connecting people and connecting dots, and the more ways we can do that through either alliances or on our own metal, we're looking to do all the time.
Good. And very quickly, and this has been alluded to already, if you could touch on utilizing sustainable aviation fuel to further reduce your emissions. I'm concerned about ICAO's carbon emissions modeling for SAF, which penalizes American farmers because of its treatment of induced land use changes versus the DOE's more favorable, and I would argue accurate GREET model. What are your airlines doing to increase the use of, and I know it's been talked a little bit, touched on already, but of SAF? And can you commit to utilizing homegrown biofuels?
Yes, sir. Again, that's the answer to getting us to carbon neutral is sustainable aviation fuels. You know, we're all dedicated to doing just that.
Okay. Tim?
Yeah, I would agree, and in fact, you know, the targets that have been established are very ambitious, and it's going to take a sea change from where we are to achieve that, and we need to cast a very broad net in terms of raw materials to produce it, so we would be very supportive of that.
Okay. Screw me.
Well, Senator, I think it's important that we get on a level playing field with road fuels, which we're not today. There are a lot of incentives that exist for that, not for fuels. But I also think as a globe, we're at some point going to have to come to grips with our sustainable fuels need to come from sources other than just farm food. So, you know, municipal solid waste, woody biomass, whatever it is, you maybe even power to liquids.
Advanced.
We're going to have to come to grips with that too.
Yeah, okay, good.
And Senator, I would just echo these comments that we have ambitions and goals to increase our use of sustainable aviation fuels. We need it produced on the scale that will support this industry, and we look forward to partnering with you and Congress on that.
Good, thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator.